that packs a punch. It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you.
C is for cookie, that's good enough for me. C is for cookie, that's good enough for me. C is for cookie, that's good enough for me. Oh, cookie, cookie, cookie starts with C. Oh!
Of Reese on the radio. Whack FM.
All right, ladies, buckle up. It's showtime.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going on, all you scallywags out there? You know what time it is. That's right. It's time for the world's most hated, and dare I say, the most racist online show in America. It's the Reese on the Radio Rundown with yours truly, Mr. Reese on the Radio. Let's get it on and popping, folks. An hour, maybe even more, of more news and views than you could shake a stick at. We're going to have a blast today. No matter how hard I try to get out, they keep pulling me back in. I try all day, every day. Michael B. in the house, I try all day. I keep trying to get out. They keep pulling me back in no matter what I do. I've been trying to ignore this. I'm like, no, I've inundated you month after month of this. It hasn't even been month after month, but week after week of this nonsense. And I can't. They keep coming at me and coming at me. Minding my own business, these bastards. And sure enough, they won't leave me alone. If you don't know who I'm talking about, it's our ongoing saga of Willis and Wade. God bless him. Mr. Thomas in the house. Hello, Mr. Beckman as well. Willis and Wade, boy, they just can't let it go. Every time you turn around, they got more news and more views. I was just waiting for 2 weeks. I'm supposed to have by the way, the countdown clock is supposed to be right here, and I don't have it up yet. I will get it because there was no reason for me to rush. It's no reason for me to rush. I figured we had 2 weeks, but they won't let it rest. Is there anyone that this woman didn't tick off? Is there anyone in the world that this woman didn't tick off? What's going on, Mr. Fritz? I don't know what's going on. Everybody hates Fannie Willis, and for good reason. For good reason, the poor woman she's made so many enemies. As many women do. You know, it's always some damn soap opera with these women. You know who they are. Not all women are like this. My wife just came in. She was just like, what is he saying? I'm not talking about you, my dear. You are a stellar representation of your species and your gender. You are 100%. Boy, I can't tell you what my wife was just gesturing there to me. It wasn't the finger either. It was much more vile. Anyway, but this woman, Fannie Willis, as it were, this awful, awful woman, she's just a bad person. She's just a bad person. And I'll get into these two individuals in a second, okay, because they are the crux of our story today. And that right there is Manny Arroyo on the left and a woman by the name of Cindy Lee Yeager on the right. And what do these people have to do with this case? Nothing. Nothing other than the fact that they have documented evidence to Willis and Wade's relationship, that they know exactly what's going on. But we'll get into that in a second. In due course, we'll get into that. I try to stay away from them, but they keep bringing me back in. So we'll talk a little more about that shortly. Now, but I have to get into this. And let me see if I can make sure I get this thing up and running, just in case we do. Someone might feel a little froggy, so I want to make sure that I make this opportunity for them. So hear me out. Okay. If you all have heard about Charles Barkley and the story that's gone viral, everyone's talking about it. Did you hear Charles Barkley and what he said the other day? And I have to say that unfortunately, the news business has become Charles Barkley. Things like what Charles Barkley did. We have more news about what people say than what people do. People care more about it. We'll get into that a little more later on in the show. But Charles Barkley, I want him to sort of be our setup to this conversation. If you didn't hear, I'll play the audio for you. You'll watch the video yourself. And then I'll explain why this is so relevant in the grand scheme of things. Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is a guy who became famous by telling people, I'm not your damn role model. Parents are role models. He always bucked the trend. That's what we liked about Charles Barkley. That's what many people liked about Charles Barkley. Telling it like it is. But Charles Barkley has been in an echo chamber as of late, right? In some cases, he says stuff and he rattles the left, and then he'll say something that rattles the right. This time, he rattled nobody. Charles Barkley didn't rattle a soul. What Charles Barkley said today, anybody with an ounce of intelligence knows that what Charles Barkley revealed was that black people, authentic black people, controlled what authentic black people are supposed to think. And if you don't subscribe to the orthodoxy, we'll punish you in one way or another. What did Charles Barkley truly say? That if he saw someone wearing a Donald Trump mugshot shirt, that he would punch them in the face. Take his word for it.
Black people walking around with my mugshot. You know, they do shirts.
When you heard that, what did you think? Big sigh.
First of all, I'm just going to say this. If I see a black person walking around with Trump mugshot, I'm going to punch him in the face.
Charles.
No, Gail.
Charles.
Gail.
You really can't say that because, A, you don't mean that.
Oh, I mean that sincerely.
And why does he mean it sincerely? Why does he mean that he would punch a black person in the face for wearing a Donald Trump mugshot, for supporting Donald Trump? Why? Because you're black. You're not supposed to. You do what we tell you to do. We over here as black people, we're part of the Borg. We're the collective. And our white masters have told us what to think. We support the Democrat Party. Our white masters treat us well over here. They treat us good. You see, I got this spot over here at CNN, and I sit across that black woman and I pretend that we're in some sort of control. But truth be the matter, that this is a big giant pot owned by the white man. And I don't sit in here stirring no pot. I sit in here as part of the stew. And you black people better get your stuff in gear, or the rest of us, real black folks, are going to find you out in the street. We're going to punch you in the face. Permission to be frank? Let me be. Now, I'm going to get a lot of hell for this. And like I care. Gayle King, Oprah Winfrey, Charles Barkley, Stephen A. Smith, the whole lot of them, LeBron James. They are the true house Negro. They are. They are the true house Negro. How do you know? It's real simple. The true things that affect the black family, these morons say nothing about. While the same white masses that they bow and cow down to and take their paychecks tell them to say nothing when it's truly detrimental to the black community. Charles Barkley might go off script here and there and talk about how San Francisco is violent, but he won't come out and go actually visit any of those gangs out in those communities. He talks about them in his pearly white castles with the pearly white master and then calls himself controversial. That's what he does. And then tells people he's got the right to tell blacks what to think. You support that Donald Trump guy, and I'll punch you in the face. It sounds like Charles Barkley done joined the Klan. Because I remember that the Klan used to threaten violence of the Negro if he didn't do what he's told. I remember that quite often. How you gonna vote, boy? You gonna vote for them Republicans? Don't expect your house to be here tomorrow. You gonna vote Democrat. That's right. Hurry up and do it, boy. Or you better not show up at all. And Charles Barkley running around there too. He might as well be the black face of white supremacy. I see that black man walking around in a Trump mug shirt. I'm gonna punch him in the face. I'm gonna do that white man tell me to do. I'm going to tell my black people that they need to get in line or they'll be met with violence. Don't believe me? Well, listen to dumbass Charles Barkley.
I'm going to just tell you something.
And then you will be arrested for assault. And then what?
That's okay. The white man pay him enough money so he can get himself out of jail.
I'm going to bail myself out and go celebrate. If I
Don't encourage him. Don't encourage him. Okay, but go ahead.
Seriously.
Continue.
First of all, if I was at that
conference, yeah.
I'd have got up and walked out. That
was
an insult to all black people.
Oh, tell me how.
Because he's basically just saying, and first of all, to compare black history where we've been discriminated against to his plight.
Yes.
Well, first of all, he's a billionaire.
Mm-hmm. So he can't be discriminated against because he's a billionaire. How about you there, Charles Barkley? You're a millionaire. Can you no longer be discriminated against? Oh, that's right, you're black. Donald Trump can't be discriminated against because he's white and he's a billionaire. Impossible for him to be discriminated against. How ignorant could this Negro be?
And they're prosecuting him for stuff he did wrong.
Really? He's been convicted, Charles Barkley? Oh, I keep forgetting. This Negro is an idiot. Gayle King, can you correct the record for this bozo?
They're prosecuting him for stuff he did wrong. And for him to compare...
It's still in the court system, Charles. We have to wait. It's still in the court system. But continue.
Yeah. Thanks, Gayle. I appreciate you. Now, continue, Negro.
Well,
continue.
Some of the stuff is true. They did storm the Capitol.
They did storm the Capitol. Donald Trump you're talking about. Now he's a they? I didn't understand Donald Trump changed his pronouns there, stupid.
They did say that the election was stolen. Those aren't lies, Gayle.
Yes, they did say the election was stolen. That's not a crime there, bozo. This guy sounding like one of his white overlords yet? Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah. Those are
They
facts.
did say that. They did say that.
But to compare, I would have got up and walked out because it's not a fair comparison. You know, he's a billionaire. He's had a great life. He's been president of the United States. To insult black people who have been discriminated against all these years.
He didn't insult anybody. And the only thing he said was that black people had told him they felt that he was being discriminated like they had been for so long. Talk about a misrepresentation. But look at this Negro. Look at this Sambo. And that's what that is. That's a Sambo. That's a Quimbo right there. Right there. Sitting right next to Kizzy. Right there. Sad ass Negroes. They think they're standing up against the white man while they serve the white man. And then call themselves black revolutionaries, independent thinkers. God bless them. God bless them. They're so stupid they don't even know it. So stupid they don't even know it. They don't even understand that it will be a million of them repeating the same nonsense, and none of them think they're sheep. But then again, folks, do sheep know that they are? Of course not. They're sheep. They're too stupid to recognize who they are. Charles Barkley and Kizzy King over here, they have no idea who they are. They have no idea that they've been brainwashed, hoodwinked, led astray. They think their white masters are smarter than everybody else, are more noble, more virtuous, probably because they keep telling them that they're victims and they'll never be anybody. They'll always be second-class citizens. And these two morons sit idly by and embrace that. Look at Massa telling me I'm a victim. He must care. Look at Master telling me that I'm a second-class citizen. He care about me. Look at Master telling me I ain't never gonna get nowhere. He must love me. Negro, please. That's exactly who Charles Barkley is. Just a Sambo with a paycheck. That's it. He's a millionaire Quimbo. I'd tell him to be ashamed of himself, but how could he be? He's got all the money to wipe away his stupidity, and he won't use it. It's like a dummy with a smartphone. This is the same crap that they've been up to for years. Yeah, and I know that. Barkley's going to call every black man he sees Toby. That's quite all right. I told you, that's the greatest part about this administration. Charles Barkley set up what I already said 2 weeks ago. What did I say 2 weeks ago? There is going to be a moment where they're going to start attacking black men. That moment was going to come very soon, where black men who support Donald Trump were going to start to be maligned. That, ladies and gentlemen, Charles Barkley's comments are the shot across the bow I told you about. That's simple. Telling black men, condemning black men, telling them that they are out of step if they support Donald Trump. You better get your ass over here, get in his house, get yourself some cornbread, shut your mouth. It's sad, but it's true. It's sad, but it's true. Speaking of talking about what people say, and I was trying to have a conversation with Michael Gay from the Michael Gay Show, and who's probably listening. And Michael Gay, if you are, don't get mad. Get even. Pay very close attention to this. This is something that I see going on all the time. If you're watching cable news at any time, and I understand why people don't watch the news. I understand why people leave the news in droves. But if you're watching the news, you'll pay more attention, especially on politics in general. CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, they spend a lot of time talking about what Donald Trump says. Did you hear what he said? Did you hear his speech? We can't play his speech. The words are always the most important to people. Let me break down why that is, okay? If you're on the left, if you're a leftist, you're already a sensitive person. Words hurt. Words affect you. You're a fairer person. You are of fairer stuff. You're not resilient. If words affect you in a way that makes it, did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he just said? I can't believe he said that. I can't believe a person would say something like that. You just said that? Oh my God. I can't believe you thought that. You were thinking? You thought of that while you were thinking? You didn't think this way and thought that way? I was on a conversation today with Darius McCreary. You know, Eddie from Family Matters. You remember him? Yeah, I was doing a podcast this morning with him. And he used the old famous term. I loved every bit of it. He said, you don't have an open mind, Reese on the radio. Negro, please. He was concerned that I wasn't a fan of the transgender movement. And I told him that that was just a man in a dress, and they are nothing more than a transvestite. And he called that politically incorrect. He didn't want to be canceled, he said. I don't want to be canceled. He's very, very subdued by the cancel culture. He's very chained up. People think they don't understand, and it's a form of slavery. But, they're free people, apparently. But he kept using terms like, you need a hug. You need to open your mind. He couldn't believe that I was actually saying something that was an antithesis of what he believed. Couldn't believe it. You think that? Oh my goodness, I can't believe you said that out loud. You think those things? This is a liberal thing. It's, by the way, nothing is more embarrassing to see black men do this. And at the same time be rappers and killers. It's 180 degrees out of phase. It's like, how can you be the toughest person in the world but affected by words? I don't get it. Like, you're the toughest guy ever, but you want to kill somebody because he insulted you verbally. I don't get it. The duality, it messes me up, right? But then again, it proves my point that these people are weaklings, right? Psychologically, they're piss ants. They're always affected by the words. That's why they're always running to the things that Donald Trump says. You heard what Donald Trump said? He said that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and still gain in the polls. Somebody would say that? And I'm like, yeah, and what's the problem? You guys think it's a joke. I'm like, do you think he would really shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue? Well, yeah, because he said it. What? What? What exactly are you crying about? That's who these people are. I take you to CNN. A guy by the name of Brad Todd. I don't know this guy. I've never seen him before, but he's on CNN. And he's talking to the host about what people care about when they go to the polls. They don't care about what politicians say. They care about what they do. And when you're trying to contrast the actual policies and the actual work that Joe Biden is doing, and the only thing you're contrasting them is what Donald Trump says, you're missing the mark. You're overwhelming yourself with something that someone says because you're a sensitive troll instead of a person who pays attention to deeds. Here's that exchange, and listen to the host of the show, who's supposed to be an objective journalist, mention Donald Trump and the blood of our nation comment.
I think the fact that the border is out of control and the Biden administration has made the problem worse is what's a bigger problem. The key portion of this electorate are going to be people who may not always like the way Trump talks or his choice of words, but they don't like the way Joe Biden's policies are acted. And immigration is going to be number one on that. Immigration and prices both. And that's going to be the pull and push of this campaign. Can the Biden campaign demonstrate that, in fact, they're going to take a new direction on immigration and on the economy? They're going to move more to the center? Or can Trump convince voters to look past some of the rhetoric they don't like?
You could make the case that the immigration system is broken. I don't think many people will argue about that. But talking about poisoning the blood of the country,
the numbers of illegal immigrants and encounters on the border are what's going to drive this election. It's not going to end up being about Donald Trump's rhetoric. It's going to end up being about the numbers under Joe Biden and the reality American citizens are seeing in cities across the country.
Yeah, I don't think that what was her name? Lincoln Riley. I don't think that her parents care much about what Donald Trump said about poisoning the blood of our country. I think they care about an illegal immigrant who came into the country from Venezuela who bashed their daughter's head in. And when you hear these people talking about what somebody said, well, Donald Trump says these things. And I'm like, what are you crying about? Tell me the thing that he does that you don't like. And the weird part about it is what do you hear from most of these bozos? Nothing. I got into a conversation with Jay King, and Jay King actually, I couldn't believe it, said it out loud. He said, I believe that Donald Trump is a threat to this democracy. I went, and literally, I went literally like this. I went, did you just say that out loud? Like, dude, that's, no offense, but that's what people say on CNN. It really doesn't mean anything. You didn't really repeat that, right? And he was like, no, he is a threat to this democracy. Okay, how? You know how. No, I don't. Do you know how? You know, you're just playing. No, I don't. And I know you don't. Any one of these bozos who were sitting over there talking about what threat the democracy is, you couldn't get one of them to explain how. Well, how he said he was going to be a dictator on day one. Because he said he was going to sign an executive order? Like you didn't read into that? Like you didn't understand that? Well, when he said he'd be a dictator, yeah, day one. The 364 other days in the year. And he's doing 4 of those if he gets elected. Like, slow down. Somebody exaggerating a little bit? He needs to stick to singing in the background. Yeah, no, they're not supposed to. But Bill Clinton, nothing to see here. Yeah, exactly. What did Biden do on day one? Exactly. Executive order, Keystone Pipeline, no more new wall, immediately going after drilling in Anwar. The objective was, all of these things were all by executive fiat. Nope, not dictator. We have a court case where the president of the United States was just found to be liable to do what? Stopping people from communicating on Facebook. They were literally coordinating with social media companies to stop people from talking about the vaccine, about COVID, about the election, anything. Coordinating. No transparency. People talk about dictators like they know what that means. Nobody knows what that means. A threat to democracy. We're not a democracy. And when you say that to these bozos, they look at you, they give you 3 heads. A democracy? We are a democracy. No, dude. So when I hear these people over and over again whining about what somebody said, it proves to me one thing and one thing alone. Either they're not paying attention or they are watching too much CNN and MSNBC. What I find interesting is that both of those networks won't even cover a speech by Donald Trump when it's live. They won't even broadcast it. But then we'll find a snippet to inform its viewers about that they didn't like or that they can parse into a comment that they can use against him. But every one of his speeches are live for everyone to see. You have to watch them online because the major news networks won't cover them. And for reasons I can't seem to understand. The part that always drives me nuts is that Donald Trump is a liar and he's going to spread lies and all that. So what are you afraid of? If it's a lie, why are you concerned about it being on the air? Well, because we would have to fact check him in real time. How is that your job? Your job is to inform us of the news, not determine if it's fake or real. You're just supposed to report. That's it. It's the who, what, when, and where. You get to the why when you know why. If you don't know why, shut your mouth and move on to the next story. But injecting yourself as a journalist, as this bozo did, well, when you call you say it's poisoning our country, isn't it? Ask every kid that has been sex trafficked in that space. Ask every person who's been killed. Ask every person who's been attacked or sexually assaulted from those individuals that are coming here. Ask everyone who has to deal with them littering their communities. Ask every person who's had their resources taken from them so they can take care of people who aren't from here, who have no sweat equity in those communities. Poisoning? Everyone in those communities that is being overrun by, or at least in most cases, totally being ignored. So they can care for, as Chris Murphy famously said, the most important people to us. Poisoning? I say it's poisoning the sentiment of what's important to people in this country, especially our elected officials. There's a lot of poison going around. But when they become more concerned about what Donald Trump says, for me, it only makes clear one very important thing. And it's very important to note. They're scared to death that the American people actually hear what he has to say, and they might agree with him. That's what that's about. They're worried that there's a possibility that someone may agree with him. My hometown has gone straight to hell, speaking of New York. And the Attorney General of New York City is responsible for that. Yeah, that's Letitia James. I like to refer to her as Chewbacca. Chewbacca James. What is this poor woman doing to the city? I couldn't tell you. That's her. That's the ugly duckling of the Kardashian family. If you haven't heard this story, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard this story, this was an opinion piece in the Daily News from Betsy McCaughey. Tish James is turning New York into a banana republic with yet another lefty lawsuit. New York State Attorney General Chewbacca James has a beef with beef. James last week sued JBS USA Food Corporation, the U.S. subsidiary of the world's largest beef producer, accusing it of fraudulent and illegal business activities and demanding a disgorgement of all profits and its ill-gotten gains. Does this sound familiar, folks? Disregard the inflammatory language. James's law is frivolous and a mere publicity stunt. She's using the state's legal apparatus to punish individuals in the industry unpopular with the left, sacrificing the rule of law in the process. If she can make the Empire State into a living hell for beef producers, she can do it to any other industry. Her politically motivated legal attacks will scare companies out of New York. Your business or job could be next. Already, James has used the powers of her office to go after the aforementioned President Donald Trump and the National Rifle Association. Now she's targeting beef. What's next on her docket? Furriers, car dealerships, big pharma? Maybe not so. Pro-life groups, Friends of Israel, companies that donate to Republicans? Most of Chewbacca's 38-page legal complaint is a rant against beef companies, not just JBS specifically. She says, quote, beef has the highest total greenhouse gas emissions of any major food commodity, and beef production is linked to large-scale deforestation, especially the Amazon rainforest. Beef is a result of the deforestation of the Amazon rainforest. New York is a long way from the Brazilian rainforest, and even JBS, the U.S. operations, which are in Colorado. How does she justify a New York lawsuit? She accuses JBS of fraud for telling New York consumers the company aspires to achieve net zero emissions, that is, by 2040. The fraud charge is ridiculous, the writer says. Labeling chuck steak filet mignon would be fraud because it would misrepresent the product being sold. by saying you aspire to net zero carbon emissions 20 years from now is not fraud. Half of the world's 2,000 largest publicly listed corporations state that they aspire to meet net zero by 2040. But very few have concrete plans on how they'll get there, according to Net Zero Tracker. The technology hasn't been developed to do it affordably. Aspiring is not a legal commitment. The complaint makes clear that James's goal isn't to get JBS to refine its advertising. She wants to put beef producers out of business. Citing a United Nations report, James argues that emissions cannot be eliminated through existing or anticipated technologies. Instead, scientists point to the need to reduce production of a demand for ruminant meat, including beef. JBS Group, she writes, quote, JBS Group plans to do the opposite. JBS Group forecasts increased demand for its products over the coming decades and intends to meet that demand. So, what is JBS's crime? Growing instead of caving to the left and closing down. So she's attacking them. And everybody warned that after Donald Trump that she would do something similar to this. But everyone wanted us to believe it's just Donald Trump she wants to get. She planned on going after Donald Trump. She got him. No one else is going to get attacked, Kathy Hochul told us. Remember? All the other businesses are not like Donald Trump, so they're safe. Letitia James waited no time at all. So now she's going after someone. And guess what? She'll get a favorable judge in New York, and she'll haul them into those rooms. And that judge, they'll turn around and say, nope, we're getting rid of you. And it doesn't matter whether or not they have a jury trial or not. It's New York City. They will get a favorable jury. And JBS, what will happen to them? Oh, they'll be fined hundreds of millions of dollars as well. And they'll be forced to have to do the same thing that Donald Trump is going, put up a bond in order to appeal. But the objective is to hurt them and to make them leave the city. They'll have to leave the city. Now, I keep asking myself, look, New York City, man, it's the mecca of business. It's where billionaires are made. Not anymore. The objective is to kill New York. It's to destroy Babylon. That's the idea. New York is the mecca of wealth. And wealth is the enemy. Do you understand that? New York City has to be destroyed because the thing that it represents most is capitalism, wealthy, opulence, Broadway. It's got to be destroyed. You take down that mighty giant that is New York, and trust me, they're going to have at it. From Bloomberg to de Blasio to Eric Adams, and Letitia James. They are well on their way. Crime is rampant, can't ride the subway. They've turned over the asylum to the maniacs. Wealthy people won't be able to live there because, remember, they are a blight on their final vision. The rich, the wealthy, the well-to-do, the businessman, those people are the enemy. This is their version of the meek inheriting the earth. That's what's going to happen. Sadly, these people need to recognize yeah, bring back the graffiti. Yeah, there's no such thing as... She is more of a porky lady than the... Forget Mrs. Pinky. Hope the judge doesn't work for Ed Equinox. Peter Luger's is going to be a wrap. That's it. Close them all down. It will be Gotham City. That is a great point, Michael. Gotham City indeed. The only way to do business in New York will be corrupt. That'll be what it has to be. All right, to our top story today. Manny Arroyo and Cindy Lee Yeager. Who are they? Why are they important? Well, you know why they're important. They're a part of our ongoing saga. Is it saga? of Willis and Wade. It's just sad that this is going to. So Manny Arroyo is an attorney, and Cindy Lee Yeager, is a Cobb County prosecutor. And both of these individuals have direct knowledge of a relationship between Willis and Wade as early as 2019. As early as 2019. And both of them have paperwork filed to the court of Scott McAfee saying that they are willing to testify under oath what they know about that relationship. Now, Cindy Lee Yeager is an interesting person in all of this. What's her take? Well, according to the affidavit that was filed, Cindy Lee Yeager knows Terrence Bradley personally. She worked with him. And she knows that Terrence Bradley knows definitively that Willis and Wade had a relationship as early as 2019. Not just because Terrence Bradley told her. Because as it turns out in the affidavit, Cindy Lee Yeager was in a room on the phone that Terrence Bradley had on speaker back in September of 2023, where Fannie Willis tells Terrence Bradley to clam up. They're trying to come after us. Don't tell anyone anything, she says. And that is not hearsay. If Cindy Lee Yeager heard Fannie Willis on the phone telling Terrence Bradley just that, then we have a problem. Here's 11 Alive Action News in Atlanta.
A second hearing is now set for the state Senate committee investigating misconduct allegations against Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis. A new court filing in the last 24 hours from a co-defendant in the Trump election interference case says a Cobb County prosecutor can testify in court that Nathan Wade's former law partner Terrence Bradley told her many important details in person about Fannie Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade's relationship. The filing says Cindy Lee Yeager can testify that Willis and Wade met in 2019 and started dating at or around that time. It also says Bradley had personal knowledge about their relationship before November 2021, meaning they started dating before Willis hired Wade. In the filing, Yeager says she saw Bradley's recent testimony last week saying he did not know when Willis and Wade's relationship started, and so she spoke up. The hearing is set for Wednesday and will be live streamed. This all comes as a judge decides whether to disqualify Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade from that 2020 election interference case. They're both accused of having this improper romantic relationship.
Yeah, we know that. Come on, are you kidding me? We are the epicenter for Willis and Wade. You ain't got to tell us that. What Jonathan Turley had to say about it today on Fox News was even more interesting. And it brings up the question, because a lot of people have been asking. It's like, what's the deal with Willis and Wade? This is a lot of stuff to have to deal with. People are coming at you from all angles. You clearly made some enemies, and they all wish to get you off this case. I mean, they're aiding the Trump administration. They're aiding the Trump allies. They're aiding the defendants in coming after you. As I mentioned, Cindy Lee Yeager is a prosecutor from Cobb County. Even she's coming at you. I mean, there's no honor in that field. Even she's coming forward to come after you. Something is afoot. And with all of that, of course, there's some people, and I take both sides. One side can go, hey, I'm going to stick around because, they're coming after me and my pride's, I got to take care of my pride. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody going to shut me down. I'm the first black prosecutor in this town, and these people are trying to come at me, and I just got to do what I got to do, and I know this case is solid. And then there's the other part that's going, all right, this is getting a little messy, and my reputation is on the line here. I can live to fight another day. I can resign from this case, just remove myself. Nathan, let's remove ourselves. Let's give it to the team, and let's get them to get this prosecution. At least it's a win for the office. You know, it's a win for Fulton County. And those people who were here to serve, who we're doing this for, the people on their behalf, we are getting justice for them. And this guy, Donald Trump, we're going to get him. We're going to get him for trying to overthrow that election in Georgia. Give that to this capable team, and we'll step aside. They won't do that. They're hanging on, literally, by their fingernails, and won't let go. And Jonathan Turley was thinking about that today.
Well, it was painful to watch. It had that look of a hostage tape where he was just saying, I know nothing. I heard nothing. If I said anything, I didn't mean it.
He's talking about Terrence Bradley's testimony, which was an embarrassment of riches.
The problem is that this is getting worse by the day. So this new filing has another attorney, an officer of the court, saying, look, I heard that testimony and I was shocked because I did hear with absolute clarity the opposite of what was being stated to the court. And so you have this situation for the judge where you have emails where there isn't any ambiguity. He is very clear that this relationship began before Wade was hired. And now you have this other attorney saying, yeah, that was the same clarity that I heard. So how does the court deal with that? What is very clear is that the continuation of Wade and Willis is undermining their case, undermining their office, and they have put their interests before that of the public.
And I would call that a conflict of interest in and of itself, by the way.
I am quite astonished that they have not stepped aside. They have an independent professional obligation towards their office, obviously to the people of the county. I don't believe that they're shouldering that responsibility, regardless of what the court is doing or will do.
Wow. We'll see whether or not Cindy Lee Yeager is to be heard from in that court sometime soon. Thank you, sir. Do you think it'll happen or no? Will the judge allow it?
I'm not so sure. I would bet against it. I think that this judge is ready to make a decision, and this drip, drip, drip is going to have to stop. But it's in the record, and he may have to take note of it.
Which I believe he'll have to do. I think he will have to take note of it. I think he's got to pay very close attention to it. It gets worse and worse for them. I wish, like I said, I wish that they would just resign. Get yourself out of the way, you know? You got a lot of oncoming. Just take the L. It's crazy. Well, anyway, it's Super Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. That's always fun. Michael B said, I hope they televise their bar hearings. So do I. So it's Super Tuesday. If you're voting in your state, please get out and vote. It doesn't matter to me who you vote for, because your vote, your choice, your vote. Do whatever it is you got to do. Vote what's best for you, and vote what's best for your interest or whatever it is. But CNN went to North Carolina, which of course is having a Super Tuesday, and what's interesting about this is everywhere I go when I'm checking out news, when it comes to this Donald Trump and Nikki Haley thing. Why is it? Is it me? I don't think it's me. I think it's everywhere. Every time I check this out, when the reporters get somebody voting for Nikki Haley, first they say, I can't vote for Trump. I'm voting for Nikki Haley. And then that reporter will ask, who are you voting for in the general election? And they say that they're voting for Biden. I'm like, again, I don't know if Nikki Haley's camp is watching that, but this happened today. And by the way, I loved how CNN is trying to say that the people that they're talking to, the first thing that's on voters' minds is abortion. I'm serious. Remember what I said? I said they tried to make abortion the 2024 issue. Immigration took it over, and they hate that. And people are still trying to push abortion as if that's the issue everyone cares about. It's not.
Abortion, education, immigration, and democracy. Those are the issues that the voters here in Cornelius, North Carolina, tell me have inspired them to come out and cast their ballots in this primary. And look.
Hold on. What did she say? I heard democracy was the last one and immigration. What was that, third or fourth? Hold on. Let's hear that again.
Abortion, education, immigration, and democracy.
Okay.
Those are the issues that the voters here in Cornelius, North Carolina, tell me have inspired them to come out and cast their ballots in this primary. And look, we have seen a steady turnout here. You can see we have a little bit of a line that is building at this point. Of course, the primary day turnout is on top of the roughly 695,000 North Carolinians who cast early and absentee ballots. And part of that is North Carolina's outsized importance when it comes to being a swing state come November. But it's also because there is a long down ballot full of competitive races on both the Republican and the Democratic side. And voters here are educated, they're informed, and they're ready to make their voices heard. I spoke with voters who voted for Joe Biden, Donald Trump, and Nikki Haley today about why they made the choices that they did.
Get ready. First one, Trump.
Trump.
Why?
He's the only man that can help us as a country and bring everything back the way it should be, a normal day-to-day living for all Americans.
I love that line. A normal day-to-day living for all Americans. There wasn't a damn thing partisan about that. It's a brilliant line. I'm glad he said it. It was quick, succinct, right down the middle. Now, let's go to a Haley supporter.
Just do not really agree with Trump's rhetoric and all of his, well, not all of his policies, but I just think that the Republicans deserve a better choice, and I think that's Nikki Haley.
Is Nikki Haley someone you feel like you could vote for in November?
No. I will vote Democrat.
Why? What's the point? For the Republicans, I just think that Nikki Haley is better for the Republicans. Also, in November, are you going to vote for Nikki Haley? No. Like, what is it that Nikki Haley, this is play every time we play videos like this. Every time we play videos like this, what do we get? We get the same thing over and over again. We get Democrats who want to literally get Trump out so they can vote for Joe Biden. They need to destroy the momentum of Donald Trump because they know Donald Trump is going to beat Joe Biden. The only way they can stop him is to prop up Nikki Haley. And instead of Nikki Haley totally reading that writing on the wall, oh no, I'm going to stick in it. I think that Americans should have a choice. Yes, sweetheart, they're making their choice. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be disrespectful and call you sweetheart. I got to talk to you like, I have to talk to you like an adult. I apologize. Ma'am, hear me out, okay? It's a wrap. I mean, how many states do you have to lose? And I loved it that people were posting about Nikki Haley won one. It's D.C. It's D.C., the District of Columbia. Do you understand? By the way, guess how many? I don't even know how many people are in D.C. I want to say it's like 5 million, maybe 7 million. I know it's less than New York City. But D.C. in and of itself, do you know how many Republicans are in D.C.? 23,000. Do you know how many people showed up for the primary vote over the weekend? Do you know how many Republicans showed up? It wasn't 2,000. It wasn't even 2,000. And Nikki Haley won that. Did you think Donald Trump was going to win in D.C.? It's just ridiculous. You just plagiarized Taylor Swift, encouraging Swifties to vote. Are we your Reese's? I hope not. Reese, I just got my wife, Brenda, to like your podcast and radio. Be great if you give Brenda a welcome to your show. If you give Brenda a welcome, if you don't, I understand. Oh, Brenda, listen, Brenda. All new listeners get a shout out and an acknowledgement. Now, I almost screwed up and called you newcomers, but the Biden administration has completely commandeered that term now for the illegals coming in at the southern border. So I won't call you a newcomer because that I would deem that an insult. So you're a new listener and welcome aboard. We appreciate you being here. Just so you know. All right, last but not least, before we get out of here, this goes back to my Darius McCreary conversation earlier today. For those of you who are not familiar with his real name, Darius McCreary, but you might remember the character Eddie from the Urkel show, Family Matters. You remember that? Urkel Eddie was the oldest son of the Winslow family. And Darius McCreary, he knows me. I don't really know him, but he knows me. But we got into a conversation today about transgenderism. And Darius was very open about the fact that he has dated members of the transgender community, which I thought that was very candid of him. And you know what? I give him props for not living in the shadows. As a black man from a prominent black television show and an actor, many people will frown on that. And the fact that he was open and honest about that, I give him props. Because a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. And your preference, your sexual preference is your sexual preference. I'm not here to condemn you or demean you. And in our conversation, he was trying to say, you need to have an open mind. I was just like, I don't want to hear all that open mind nonsense. I said, that's a joke. Anyway, so RuPaul was on the whatchamaface on The View, RuPaul. And RuPaul said something interesting. I thought this was funny.
What do you think of this? Well, listen, you're born naked and the rest is drag. Everybody
That's right.
Everybody is playing a role. Everyone. When you get out of the shower, you put on your drag, right? So here's the thing. Art doesn't have to explain itself. Drag is art. Here's the thing. Drag pokes fun at that stage play that I was talking about earlier, the roles that we play. It's there to remind you, do not take yourself too seriously.
Yes.
Don't take yourself too seriously. Now, there are things that you should take seriously. Yeah. You take kindness seriously, you take love seriously, take sweetness seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. And the people who want to go up against all that are afraid of our light, of our laughter, of our joy, of our...
No, we're not. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry, baby. We are not afraid of you. You like to drum that up in your little echo chamber of people who already agree with you, baby. We're not scared of you. You're a man in a dress. Nothing about you is threatening. We find you to be sick. We find you to be mentally unstable. Baby, we pray for you. We're concerned about your well-being, but we are not scared of you. We are scared of what you do to yourselves. That's what we do. How you try to convince yourselves and the rest of the world that you're okay when we know you're not. That's why you're running around here wearing all that flamboyant stuff. Look at me, look at me. Because outside of that silly little outfit that you put on, nobody notices you. You're like a face tattoo. You're a t-shirt. The reason why you dress in drag is because no one ever noticed you as a child. And if they did notice you, they hurt you. And now you wish to put the shoe on the other foot and express to everybody else, look at me, I'm flamboyant, I'm risque, I'm fearless. When deep down we know you is scared as hell. And you put on that costume so that no one can see the real you. We know. We understand because we've all dealt with trauma. Some of us have just not decided to put on a dress to cover it up. Some of you have. We recognize who you are, baby. We're not scared of you. We pray for you. You're going to be all right, though. Now, these hags over at The View, I love them. They start talking about who's jealous.
Our dancing, our music, that is the antidote to all of this negativity. Our biggest tool in fighting all that is our love and our joy. So do more of that.
I think they're jealous because they see you guys having so much fun.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
But
they're jealous.
Yeah. We're just jealous. Sure we are, Joy. That poor little idiot. Poor little idiot. It's not her fault. It's not her fault, ladies and gentlemen. It's not any of their faults. But they'll be okay. Hopefully they'll be okay. You can only pray for them. All right, last but not least, I promise you. I promise you this is the last one. Before I get out of here, Julie says, I am jealous of their makeup skills. Damn shame. He does that better than me. All right, folks, I believe that the world has turned itself into Kamala Harris. At least the Biden administration has. And they believe that they have to talk to Americans like they're a bunch of 5-year-olds. I kid you not. And you know who's actually helping them do this? Well, this time it's ABC News' Good Morning America. I can't believe that I'm going to show you this segment, but they did it. I didn't. I don't make the news, ladies and gentlemen. I just report on it. Folks, have you heard about shrinkflation? Sure you have. It's a made-up word by the Biden administration, and I think they found the spokesperson to tell you all about it.
And now to the economy and the outcry over shrinkflation, with one Sesame Street character speaking out against high grocery prices. Trevor Ault is here with the details. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, Michael. Yeah, we're hearing from one of the great economic minds of our time, the Cookie Monster, who is venting about paying more for less. And actually now some politicians are weighing in, too. We know the cookies are shrinking. Is it corporate greed or is it bad policy?
This morning, the Cookie Monster has had enough.
Chocolate chip cookie important to me, too.
His beef with shrinkflation is getting attention on Capitol Hill after he posted, quote, "Me hate shrinkflation. Me cookies are getting smaller."
Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I know that Muppets aren't real, but I love Muppets. I'm a big Muppet fan. I mean, just growing up, I never tell anyone, but I love Elmo. I never tell anybody that, so it's the first right here. Big Elmo fan. I think he's adorable. Okay? Fozzie Bear is my favorite Muppet of all time. Why? Because he's a comedian, and Waka 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 was my favorite thing growing up. I love Fozzie Bear. And the Cookie Monster is my second favorite, because I think he's funny as hell. I just think he is. Now, folks, don't get me wrong. I know they're not real. I know that they are Muppets. They are nothing more than puppets. Somebody's hand is up there, and someone is voicing those characters. But I love them. But if there was ever a bastardization, a disgusting display of those characters who I grew up to love and I still love today, it is this. And that is, me hate shrinkflation. I want to kill people when I hear this. It makes me mad. It just makes me mad. Not because they're doing this to Cookie Monster. I don't want an association with Cookie Monster. I don't want to be like those people who get upset about what Trump says. I don't even want to be mad about that. I don't want to be mad. I don't want to be like them. But I got to tell you that this is actually disgusting. This is disgusting. So it wasn't just bad enough. Just show you how bad these freaking idiots are, okay? And I'm a little outraged here, okay? Me hate shrinkflation. Me cookies are getting smaller. I'm like, Cookie, come on, man. Come on. Have some dignity. I've never seen Cookie Monster give a damn about the size of the cookie. He eats them all anyway. And now to suggest that Cookie Monster cares about shrinkflation? Come on, man. Nobody believes that nonsense, and I'm not falling for it. But to make matters worse, this happened.
Senator Sherrod Brown responded, "Me too, Cookie Monster. People in my state of Ohio are fed up. They should get all the cookie they pay for."
That's it. I'm done. I'm freaking done. I'm done. I'm done, people. A sitting member of Congress responded to Cookie Monster as if to suggest my people in Ohio are angry too about their cookie sizes. Really? Really? And the stupid thing about this is, what is this an attempt to do? It's to suggest that the reason why people are getting less for the stuff that they're paying for is the greedy corporations. No! This is a result of the Biden administration's increase of inflation. Everything that they've done, every budgetary thing that they have done that has hurt industry to the point that they actually shrink the food items and charge you more for them just so they could survive. So they save a little on product so they can stay afloat under the circumstances of not being able to make any money. And these bozos are trying to actually sell the idea that it has nothing to do with their own administration. Give me a break. And then to drag Cookie Monster into this, his good name into all of this is really, really upsetting. I just want to let you know that. I would have, you know what? Somebody said Grover. Grover works as a waiter. Will he tweet about having a living wage? Probably. And I would have accepted Grover in this, but of course it's Cookie, so it had to be Cookie Monster. But I couldn't believe it. Haggis says shrinkflation happens in cold water. Oh, man, this really gets... Every time I talk about the Muppets on this show, let me tell you something. This is an absolute truth, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, do not... I'm telling you, this is 100% true. I did a show about Sesame Street introducing 2 new black characters to talk about melanin. It was one of the most watched shows of the year. When I talked about how stupid Elmo had met the 2 new black characters, and the black father was telling Elmo about melanin. And I was so outraged because it's, first of all, the Muppets and Sesame Street, what makes them unique is that every Muppet is a different color. From Elmo to Grover to Cookie Monster to Grouch to Big Bird. To Bert and Ernie, they're all different colors. And they all live in unison and they all help each other and they live on Sesame Street communicating and working together. And their colors, in essence, are as an example of who they are, right? You see all these different colors and no one ever mentions it, right? No one ever mentions their color. And then Sesame Street out of nowhere decides, we're going to bring in black characters. And the first thing that ran through my mind was, wait a minute. Don't we have black characters on Sesame Street already? I always thought they were there. But for some odd reason, I guess they didn't. Now, I was a little upset that Sesame Street introduced a kid who had AIDS. That was a little troubling because nobody has sex on Sesame Street. No one's having unprotected sex on Sesame Street. And even worse off, this character got AIDS through a blood or HIV from a blood transfusion. The first thing that ran through my head was, wait a minute. Nobody gets a blood transfusion on Sesame Street. They don't even have accidents. No one's ever been thrown out a window. No one's ever been caught in a drive-by. What are you talking about? A Muppet with a blood transfusion? What are they doing at Sesame Street? So I apologize that I'm a little exercised about this. It's one of those things that I'm clearly, I get a little worked up about. I'm sorry, folks. So I will try to tone it down. So I'm guessing the count didn't bite that Muppet. Normally they would not. Brenda was not excited. Oh, thank you, Brenda. And again, Brenda, I appreciate you coming by, and I hope you do like the show. Yes, Greg, great question, Greg. Greg says, who were the white Muppets? I don't know. When I was watching the Muppets, no one cared. It was like they were looking for a problem to create. I have no idea why this makes me this angry. I don't know why. I'm laughing at myself as I'm thinking about it. It's like, why am I so exercised about this? And I guess for some odd reason, you know what? I'll put it to you like this. It's like going back to your old neighborhood and finding out somebody demolished the house you grew up in. Like you go there to take your kids and you want to show the kids where you grew up, and you get there and they tore down the house and somebody put like a shopping mall there, or you come back and they built like a parking lot and it's not there, and it feels like somebody took something from you, right? Like the memory doesn't exist because you can't really share the memory. You can only tell them, and there's nothing tangible to show. And that's what I kind of feel like Sesame Street. I'm just like, look, dude, your product was a great product. You've been around since November of 1969. And you've stood the test of time on public television. Do you understand that? On public television. There's nothing to change about the Muppets and Sesame Street. I don't know. It's just, I find it crazy. I just find it crazy. Some people say that Beaker was their favorite one. I don't know. Beaker, I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't like Beaker. I like the Swedish Chef. More. Oh, Jesus, don't get me started. It's time for me to go. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Twitter. I'm assuming the freedom fighters are in the house over in Twitter, and thank you guys for checking out the show. Facebook, anyone and everyone, I appreciate it. It's been a wonderful ride today. Tomorrow, we'll talk about the results of Super Tuesday. I hope you guys are watching it. Guess we'll be back. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the radio. You have a good night and a pleasant tomorrow, because we hope to see you back here tomorrow, too. Holla, holla, pop your collar. Be good to each other. I love you.